What's good, everybody? Today I'm going to go over the Anthony DeFrank versus Josh Boisvert fight. Um, man, what a fight! What a fight! This was one for the books. This was definitely one of the best fights of the season, if not the best fight. Um, to start, you want to talk about someone rising to the occasion in the biggest moment of their life and having the performance of their life. That was Josh. Um, he looked like a completely different guy out there. And I don't miss too often, but I missed on this one. This was an air ball from your boy because I wasn't as high on him coming out of the first round as I was some of the other guys, even though he got a nice clean KO in the first round. The reason being because it really wasn't the toughest draw. I mean, we had seen Jay get absolutely slapped before in a power slap match. And even though Jay got to slap twice because Josh flinched, Jay really didn't land that good of slaps. So, although I definitely knew that Josh could throw hands, his chin, in my opinion, hadn't been as certified as some of the other guys. Because even DeFrank he only took one, but he took a big slap in his fight. So, yeah, but man, was I wrong. I mean, this was an absolutely perfect performance by him. I mean, he dished out some crazy slaps and he ate slaps, man. I don't know that he could have done much better. He even got the TKO in the last round, which I wasn't crazy about just because there was nothing else to do. They should have just let it go to decision. But he ended up like the TKO part at the end was just the icing on the cake for Josh. I don't think it's possible to do much better than he did, man. Performance of a lifetime from him, dude. And for DeFrank, I mean, this was one of the greatest displays of heart I've ever seen. He stood in the pocket for 3 rounds, taking absolute bombs, man. Absolute bombs. And even on the last slap, it's like he was still about it, even though there was very little likelihood of him winning the fight at that point. He's a great example of how you can look good coming off a loss. And yeah, so the biggest attribute you can have in power slap to start, like if you want to be a great fighter in power slap, is being able to take a slap consistently. And he proved that. Like taking a slap from Gianni, like that was a really good slap, but taking it from Josh is just different, man. And he took 3 of them, and the heart that he displayed getting up and just the straight grit, man. It was honestly inspiring. It inspired me a little bit. What a performance by DeFrank, even though offensively it wasn't his best fight. But yeah, I mean, I think he still came out looking good on that one. But yeah, anyway, with that said, DeFrank won the toss and he was slapping first, and it was an okay slap. It was clean for sure. It was almost too clean. He seemed to be standing further away than he was in his first fight against Gianni, and yeah, he just seemed a little out of range on his strikes. So you'd see a couple times like the slap just slid straight off Josh's face, and so that's really not what you want. You want to be driving the person's face. And so, yeah, it wasn't the most effective, but it was definitely clean. And it wasn't a bad slap by any means, I don't think, but it just wasn't his best. And then, dude, it was a great job by Josh to play it off. When I said he looked different in this fight, like I meant it in all aspects, man. He looked straight up comfortable up there, which was not the case in his first fight. He did a great job of playing this off. He screamed in his face and slammed the foam against the table, which is exactly what you want to do. People forget that there's literally part of the rules of judging is like the reaction and how the person getting slapped handles it. It's literally a part of how you win the fight. So sometimes it just absolutely irks me and like baffles me that some people could get in there fighting and not do that. You cannot not do that. It's literally a part of how the fight is judged. So you just can't afford to not do that. And it was a great job by Josh. he again, he looked like a different dude out there. And then on Josh's first lap, dude, this was a hammer. It was a hammer. It was a crazy powerful slap, and it knocked DeFrank down. And dude, on Josh's slap, like his striking looked polished tonight, man. It was clean, dude. Straight up clean. It was Mr. Clean. And so yeah, it knocked DeFrank down. And so one thing that I noticed about DeFrank was he was tucking his chin. Whereas in the first fight, he had his chin straight up in the air, and that was one of the things that I said I didn't like from him in his first fight. And he definitely made that adjustment. It was a smart adjustment. However, I do think he was doing it a little too much. And I think even at one point, it might have been on like the second slap he took or something like that. The ref even said something like chin out or whatever, because you're not allowed to like tuck your chin to the point where like it'll affect the slap. So there's kind of like a gray area. Like it's not a foul. So it's smart by him to try to do it and to push the limits of it, because again, the worst the ref can even do is just tell you to like stop it and tell you to do it. Like he might just come over and like straight up pull your chin out, but it's not a foul. So DeFrank just straight up brushed it off, didn't even acknowledge it, and the ref just let it slide. So it was super veteran by DeFrank, but he's got to be careful with that because he was tucking it a little too much. But ultimately, dude, no one can say that didn't make a difference in this fight. If his chin was straight up in the air like it was in his first fight, he would have, like, I find it hard to believe that he would have been able to take these strikes. When somebody tucks their chin, it really makes it much more difficult to land on the button. And yeah, you saw that. You saw that in this. A couple of Josh's slaps, I think, if his chin wasn't tucked, would have hit right on the button, and this fight could have went much differently. But yeah, it was a good job by DeFrank. Definitely got to be careful about it because I think he was doing it too much, but it was noticeable and noteworthy. And then on DeFrank's second slap, so this was a good slap. It was much better than the first. But Josh's chin was just on display, man. His head didn't even move. I'd love to see his neck strength because his neck was on display as well. Not even just his chin, like his head wasn't even turning on the strike, which is, you either want to roll with it or just let it go right through you. So it was absolutely textbook as far as how to take a slap by Josh. And after he took that strike and realized he was okay, you could literally see it on his face. He knew that he had the fight won at that point. I'd love to see, like, hear his opinion and see if I'm right on that, but it seemed to me like after he took that second slap from DeFrank, it didn't matter what happened. He knew he was going to win no matter what, whether he put him out or whether it went to the decision. At that point, he's up 2-0. So all he has to do is really stay conscious and not land a foul, and he basically had that fight won. And you could see it. But anyway, yeah, so his chin was just on display, and he really knew that he had it at that point, and his confidence just went through the roof. And I honestly thought going into that last lap, after I saw how he like knew that he had the fight won, like I thought that DeFrank was in even more trouble than he already was. But again, DeFrank was just a straight up zombie out there, just eating these slaps and coming forward. On Josh's second slap, so Trujillo said he's scared, and DeFrank literally, this was an iconic moment, man, for DeFrank. He did like the straight up Austin Powers, dude. Like it sounded like Austin Powers. Listen to that back. He was like, "Never that, baby." Like it was actually pretty gangster. But anyway, on Josh's second slap, this was another absolute hammer. DeFrank actually ended up going to a knee on his own, which, again, super veteran. At that point, he was playing for a knockout. Like, he was gonna have to play for a knockout, knowing that, you know, after he landed that slap, he didn't win the round. So, yeah, I love him going to a knee there. There's no way you're winning a decision at that point. So you're really playing on the last slap, trying to put him out. So, and I say this all the time. It's like the judges the fact that you would have 2 knockdowns after that, the judge's opinion of the fight is absolutely pointless. Like Josh has 2 knockdowns on you at that point. There's no way you're winning a decision. So it was an amazing decision by him to go down to a knee there. It just shows that this kid, like, they know what they're doing, man. He straight up knew what he was doing. He made very minimal mistakes. He just ran into somebody that just had an absolutely crazy performance. And then on DeFrank's last lap, man, this was a bad one. He ended up getting called for a club, and it was super low, but it was definitely the right call. So good shit to the refs. And so yeah, this was a bad slap, but dude, DeFrank, there is absolutely no way he was seeing straight on that. Like, I'm gonna give him some lenience on this one because he was probably seeing 3 chins at that point, man. Straight up. Like, did you see all the slaps he was eating, man? Like, yeah. There's just no way he was seeing straight, but it was a club. It was the right call, and Josh ate it. And then on Josh's third slap, bro, this was another monster, man. This kid was just landing monster after monster after hammer. I mean, the guy should have been wearing a hard hat, dude. Like, it should have been a construction zone. They should have had that yellow taped off, dude. This kid was just absolutely dishing out hammers, man. And like, this was the one where you were like, holy shit. Like, DeFrank had been taking punishment, and then this one, like, it ended up becoming like a standing TKO because DeFrank, I don't think he technically went down. He might have grabbed the table and not gone down. But then, like, immediately they called it, and DeFrank, dude, he was still there, and he was like, oh, come on. Like, you know, like, he was still there, dude. He was still about it. And, you know, I just can't say enough about this kid's heart. But I must say, like, I do not like that they stopped it, man. Like, DeFrank had already slapped. Everybody had already slapped 3 times. Like, there's nothing else to do but go to the judge's decision. Like, I think that after all the punishment that DeFrank took and the fact that he hung in there and fought hard all 3 rounds and didn't have to take another slap and didn't even have to give another slap, they should have just let that go to a decision. I mean, he was still talking to him. Like, I wasn't about that because, and it's not, I don't want Josh to not get the TKO. Like, he deserves the TKO, but DeFrank also deserves it to not have a TKO on his record after that, man, because Josh would have looked just as good either way. You know, so it kind of sucks for DeFrank there because anytime you have a KO on your record, like a KO loss, it just isn't as good of a look. So I would have loved to have seen them just let it go to decision, but it's not how it went. So yeah, dude, in my breakdown of the first fight from Dakota, I was like, who's going to beat this kid, man? And I meant it at the time. I straight up did. And I mean, it's been aging well, but again, Josh just looked like a different dude. We didn't see this Josh the first time when I said that. So like, now coming out of it, it's like, yo, this kid is some straight up, like, this is going to be a great fight, man. It's going to be a great fight because Josh just straight up proved his chin, and you are going to need that against Dakota. If you're going to give Dakota 2 slaps, you better have a chin, man. And so Josh proved it, and yeah, just the performance of a lifetime from him. Absolutely so impressive. And then for DeFrank, I mean, dude, like, this kid's got so much heart. There's no way we don't see him again. No way. Absolutely no shot in hell that you don't see DeFrank again. I could not say that more confidently. You know, the kid just has so much heart. I have so much respect for the kid. DeFrank, you a monster out there. So shout out to you. Shout out to Josh. Shout out to everybody on this episode. And then, yeah, until next week.